This is going to be a vlog about something I came upon today. I have, I guess, a specific vulnerability which I feel a lot of people have, one way or another. I have, I have an abandonment vulnerability. My mom and I, at this point, joke about it all the time. About her leaving me when I was in preschool, or yeah, I think it was preschool, because she had to go to work. Um, and her regret is that she wished my dad was the type that made more money because there's this belief for a while. It still exists in a number of places where, if you work really hard, you will be able to find success. This is an old fashioned belief that doesn't work in today's paradigm, today's reality. Now it's about working smarter and not harder. But for all of the wit and capacity of my dad, he really is the type that, even though he can work smarter and not harder, he would rather have consistent work. He's not the type to innovate, at least no longer. That was something he did in his youth, and that's something that I try to do as much as possible in my life is to innovate, is to change the way things work in order to better it, make it more efficient. That's how I survived night shift, grave shifts over in my mid 20s when I worked at Fitbit. No, early 30s actually. And I always innovate on things that I find a waste of my time or inefficiencies. That's not the point. This video is about more so something that happened today. So, friends are in town. This is CES week. Uh, I think some of you can kind of pick up on the notion that I have, like, I'm under certain levels of stress. Partly because I'm still unemployed. I've been unemployed since July. And I've been trying to balance so many different things in order to survive because at this point, I can't even pay for this mortgage. So I'm in a forbearance period. And it's been hard trying to find a solid job because my portfolio is not updated yet in order to showcase what I've been able to accomplish within the healthcare field in UX for the last several years. And the reason why I haven't been doing my portfolio is because I'm trying to balance both building my own business and at the same time doing clientele work. And even though a lot of people mean well, there are certain priorities and conflicts that, even though I accepted all of these conditions, the prioritization is so lost that now I'm just overly stressed. That I've had stress nightmares maybe at least once every other week. And so, in that vulnerability, talking about the abandonment thing and being more vulnerable, friends were in town, and several different, like three different friendship circles had things going on because it's CES this week in Vegas. And my vulnerability is I become more hypercritical. All the precision, all the analysis, the things that I'm natively good at, which made me who I am today, which made me able to assemble these rigs, compositions, format setups that helps me do YouTube. I'm very good at analysis and execution when I have the focus, and it comes up more importantly in when I'm vulnerable. But the problem that happens when I'm vulnerable is that I'm so on edge that social interactions become this laser focus, this laser analysis. So I look at friends and family's behavior with this analysis. And so oftentimes I recognize, especially now, that I need to chill out. So this friends group today, I was hoping, with them telling me what's going on, that, I'd be able to coordinate for lunch and go along with them before they head out to leave back home. By the time I got the invitation, they said that they're on their way. Unfortunately, they've already been in the middle of lunch. So by the time I come over to the location where they're having breakfast and lunch, they're already almost done. So there really wasn't anything for me to partake of. It was too late to order. They were going to watch a football game. when I came there, I felt incredibly abandoned. And me already being in a sensitive state, I just held it together. Now, there is a fairness, and if there was any sort of either mistake or malice, whatever the case was, I did go to a very special kind of experience or event the night before, and it kind of like showed that I was going to this thing because it's so cool. It's just something that I've been wanting to experience for a very long time, which is Nyotai Mori. You can look it up if you want to understand what that is, because it's definitely an experience. Not something that I would just do all the time because you're just eating sushi off of like models and stuff, and even though that's typically taboo to have sushi for raw fish touch bare skin, this was safe because it was on orchid leaves or some sort of leaf thing, so it was safe. It's more of the, oh, this is cool. It's like an art experience, and having been a part of the art world here and there and entertainment industry, you kind of understand these very specific, special experiences that people are creative or resourceful enough to create and manifest. Some of the other guys wanted to partake in it, but I didn't know that that was their thing, because there is a higher price point to compared to what is normally available. With people that don't want to spend an incredible amount of money, they're not gonna be able to do that. Now, my mistake was I should have offered the option to them, and if they're able to join in, if not, well, whatever. But I had condemned them to thinking that because two of the major speakers of the group are typically on the cheaper end of their budget, it condemned the entire group. And that was my mistake. Now, that was the other day. Come to today, if the intention was to pay back that that abandonment of those of that option to them the day prior, then I fully accept that this is kind of like the revenge play, I guess. I don't know. But it's probably because they weren't really thinking about it. And that's fair. There was a lot of details going on. Either way, I don't blame them. There are certain things that happen that in life where they become lessons learned. And it helped me really, after I got over the upset, I vented to another friend. Um, and, I did come to, after I vented, I came to realize that I should just, chill out, detach, separate myself. Um, there are several realizations that came to happen, but one most important thing is I don't blame my friendship crew, the one that I was like really looking at, for any of the actions. They're just here on vacation, they're trying to enjoy themselves. What I'm experiencing is my own thing. And there are certain realizations that deserve to be analyzed, understood, and shared. With that said, I know that there is a communication issue with that group, but then there are certain groups that I'm a part of that do have heavy communication issues. And I'd love to go into the various social groups that I've been a part of historically and look at the pros and cons of each. But there's something very interesting that I realized. One is because of the abandonment flaw that I experience. Um, to those friends that want me to be a part of their circle, I do attend, I do partake of those friendships. But there are times where, unless I'm consistently invited, I don't often engage. And inversely, for those groups that I want to be a part of, they will do their own thing and I'm often not invited. So there's an inverse happening in terms of my relationship to certain groups. Invitation goes out. Usually I'll respond, but other times I won't. So there's a level of abandonment there. And then in other ways, if I'm expecting an invitation and none comes out and they go do their thing, I'm also experiencing abandonment. The zero sum game that occurs is basically, unless I act as a leader and volunteer myself to set an example, it's a zero sum game. I end up alone. And it's not a sustainable thing, especially as social creatures. We do need people around us. So it's one of the motivating reasons why I do accept the majority of invitations. And thanks to one of my friends early on, post breakup over a decade ago, he did encourage me that if there is ever an invitation, you go out of your way to engage that invitation because they're thinking of you. I totally took that to heart, and so that I follow through on that. I put a lot of weight in this one social group that I'm part of today. And because of that inconsistency, the communication flaws, all that, I think I put too much on it. I don't think, I don't know if the group values itself enough or recognizes the value that certain people put on it. Um, but it forced me to really consider all of my social groups and how I value them. Again, there are certain social groups that that really trigger my abandonment flaw, and I don't necessarily need that. Um, but again, that's not necessarily their fault. It's just something that's always been a trait of certain social groups, and I just don't think it's really going to change. Because one of my friends within that circle also mentioned that we're not that type of crew. So that's fair. Even though I wanted more out of it, I can't force that. And so at the end of the day, it's really what I want for myself. So they can do their thing. It is a thing that is meant to be. I need to make adjudications and decisions for myself. And I need to be more proactive about curating my life to what works and what doesn't. And this is not a personal, offense in connection to anyone and anything. These are things that I'm growing through. And especially if I'm really aiming to be either a successful entrepreneur or really flourish in life, I need to curate the type of people that I surround myself with. And if there is any level of negligence that happens on anyone's parts, maybe just things just aren't working out. Maybe things are just not connecting. There are people in my life who felt that maybe I either hated them or despised them. I think the truth of the matter is that there's a level of negligence happening on my part where I'm not really doing too much in response in order to maintain the relationship because I'm taking them for granted. And I'm honestly saying I'm taking them for granted because if I really cared, if I really put them on that pedestal in which I will create very meaningful connections, I would have pursued that relationship. But I think there's a part of me that's in such a deep self discovery, very introverted manner, where even though I can be very social, I'm also very protective of my own space because I have had people who really want me to incorporate them into my life. And they do so with a level of assertiveness. Unfortunately, for certain numbers of these people who are assertive with me, I don't connect to their values. And I want to surround myself with people who align with my values. And so, even if people see things one way in which they see me as a pivotal part of their life, I don't necessarily agree with their values for them to make them a part of my life. It's a very single directional thing. It's funny, I watched this clip on social media of this one guy who was brought onto a radio to welcome a second date with someone, but the interpretation of that one lady who had wanted to go on a second date with the guy that she was talking to, the guy revealed that there was no date, there was no first date. It was all an excess fabrication, an exaggeration of what the guy understood was happening. The guy was just chilling with friends, going to a bar, and then this girl came over and they had chicken wings and stuff like that. But the girl was just so hyper enamored with him because based on the clip, it sounded like she just found someone that she could really connect to and she thought this was true love. Now, in reflection, like I connect with a lot of people. I'm very social. I'm very inquisitive. Um, Behavioral sciences is something that I innately engage in. I articulate. I analyze. I dissect. And some people are intimidated by that, and other people welcome it. But it's something that I know a lot of you who have watched me do my stuff appreciate of me, and I really appreciate that you understand that. But there are certain people that don't realize that this is something that's just not for one person to have. It's something that I share and exercise with everybody in the world. It is how I do my things. It's how I develop my career. It's how I developed my all of my friendships, and ultimately what I endeavor to do to provide for the world. So no one can really have that to themselves. So I apologize for the people that I don't fully have connected with as a priority. I try my best to prioritize people, and that's something that I'll have to sort out as time goes on. But coming back to it, to the abandonment thing, no, I don't blame anyone for it. Everyone's doing what they're just doing. But it does make me hyper focus when I feel like there is no social support, social thing going on. The way I respond to my abandonment, once I get over the upset, is that I hyper focus. And a lot of people do this. This is not unique to me. There are people who have grown up with some level of abandonment, and the way they respond is not to be paralyzed in mourning, but to actually engage their depression or anxiety with more effort, work, focus, to vow to themselves, whether they realize it or not, they vow to themselves not to experience this feeling ever again. This is what a lot of not social workers, social justice leaders do, is that they see or have experienced a very like traumatic or concerning thing of suffering, and they work hard to find a solution or to never have it again. I don't know if this is hypervigilance, but for me, it is forcing me to really there's an internal fire, there's an internal anger that happens, and there is nothing anyone can really say to salve that. This time, this focus is purely me. And the way I'm responding to not just the situation today, because I actually needed some level of emotional duress to focus. I needed to be uncomfortable to focus on getting through this very challenging time of balancing, trying to build a business, trying to find a job, trying to resolve these gigs that I'm currently working on, just to survive. There's a level of upset and focus that anyone with any difficulty or hardships in their life have to engage in order not just to grow, but to survive. Because the truth be told of this entire situation is that underneath the strength, the vigor, and the upset and the anger, there's a child inside of the individual, like myself, that is crying in a corner. I remember telling one of my friends online in the live action roleplay community that beyond the upset, beyond the nervous breakdown, there is that inner child that is crying in a corner, feeling abandoned. And the adult me wants to work on not having that inner child cry anymore. Yeah, I think that's the point. That was the point of this message. I needed to admit it. That's unfortunate, but yeah, I need to work on curating my life so that it's not. It's more in. No, it's not more in my hands, but yeah, I think that's about it. If you got this far, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.